up, everybody? It's your girl Sequoia, Silicon Valley tech editor for Black Enterprise, and today we are on with Marlon Nichols of Cross Culture Ventures. And recently, Cross Culture put out a report, The State of Technology and Culture. So before we dive into the UNperfect Parent report, I really want to kind of get an idea of why you guys decided to do these reports.
Oh, sure. So, the whole thesis behind our fund is looking at popular culture and trying to find emerging trends that could benefit from or leverage technology to make an impact in people's lives. And we had just been as a part of this, we like do these scouting missions, and we talk to a bunch of people and startups and all this stuff. And one trend that kept popping up for us was this unperfect parent. It was this idea that we're living in this new technological age, and we're kind of enlightened as a society in terms of moms are not stay-at-home moms anymore. You've got single parent households. You've got same-sex households that are acting as parents or behaving as parents for children. You got all this stuff, and then people are just so comfortable with technology.
Right.
What can we do? What can we do a little bit differently to help people be stick with this ideal of being a perfect parent while actually leading full lives? And so that led us to just start looking into this space a little bit more, and that out came this report.
So as we know, Black women are the fastest segment of growing entrepreneurs. So how are we starting to see this represented in the household paradigm shift?
Yeah, so we didn't focus it necessarily on Black women or white women or white men or Black men. We looked at it more from a perspective of parents are getting younger. And the younger generation, particularly millennials, are very comfortable with technology, particularly mobile phones. Most of them have them, and then also, just comfortable sharing responsibility, with technology and with products for various aspects of their lives.
Right.
So why not? Why isn't parenthood, or why can't parenthood be another one of those aspects? So that's kind of how we thought about it. But more specifically to your point, yes, for entrepreneurs, this technology and this movement is great because there are no busier people in the world than entrepreneurs that are trying to juggle all these things, right? And then when you throw a family into the mix or children into the mix, now it's like your job of multitasking just got that much more difficult. So very, very relevant to Black women and entrepreneurs.
Awesome. And so I dived into the report and saw that you guys kind of shifted the focus, of course, being cross-culture ventures, and what the theme of the venture fund is. There was a focus on pop culture and how it's influencing the way that we look at the traditional family structure. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so if you go way back to like the 60s, right? So this is when you had the family, the traditional family was a mom and a dad, a male and a female, or a man and a woman, and then they were raising children. The father would go out to work, and then the mom would stay at home and be the caretaker and would manage the entire household and put an apple pie on the table every night, right? And then things started changing. There was a war. A lot of the men went off to war, and so the women still had to provide for the children in the household, and they still had to do all those other things, right? And so then the war was over. The men came back, and women were like, "Well, we're not staying home anymore. We can go out here and do our thing too, And then you started seeing interesting things like men staying home, right? While women went out to work. And then the LGBT community started growing, and
Right.
They wanted the right to adopt or to birth children and raise them, as a new kind of family structure. And so all these things are happening, and I don't want to give too much. I mean, we talk about some very specific um, popular culture related things that happen over time that brought us to this point. So I don't want to give it all away, but these are some of the things that that we looked at and said, this has some real legs as a place to put investment dollars.
Nice. And you're speaking about investment dollars. So what are some of the investments that Cross Culture Ventures has put their money toward to make sure that this technology gets out there and is assisting in the unperfect parent situation?
Yeah, so we highlighted three in the report. The three that we highlighted were Wonder School, which is basically a software platform that enables stay-at-home parents to turn their homes into daycare and preschool facilities. And the Wonder School platform helps them to get it set up and then market it and run it, right? So now, if that use case is, let's say, I don't know, let's say I was a stay-at-home dad, and I was contemplating going back to work, right? My kid is now, I don't know, 3 or whatever, right? And I want to go back to work. And then I start looking at the job market, and I'm like, oh, well, if I go back to work, I'm not able to spend the time that I want with my kid anymore, because now I got to be at work from 9 to 5 or whatever it is, right? And then on top of that, the salary that I'm going to bring home, basically, I'm just working to be able to pay for their daycare costs, because that shit's expensive. Right? So now I have the option of turning my home or part of my home into a daycare facility. I get to hire an employee in. I'm probably, if I was an educator before, I'm probably making more. I'm definitely making more, probably 4 to 5 times what I would make from working for a standard preschool facility or something like that. And I'm structuring this in a way where my kid can be home. I can bring in other children, and we can make sure that the quality of education that they're getting is top notch. So that's kind of our thesis around Wonder School, and why it's important and why it'll make such a huge difference. Another one of the companies is Yumi, which is basically it's a baby food delivery service at its core. But they've done the work with scientists and nutritionists and all that stuff to make sure that the products that they're shipping to parents on a weekly basis. So they do all the meal planning, and they send it to you. You get it at your doorstep, and basically you just feed your kid with what they're providing you. And it takes meal planning is something that new parents stress about, like a ridiculous amount, we found. And so that takes away that burden. You don't have to stress about it anymore. You know that your kid is getting all the right nutrients. You know what they're consuming is good for them, and you don't have to spend the time, the countless hours on the internet, like searching, around, baby nutrition and things like that. The other thing that the company is doing is they're planning to be the destination for online destination for anything that's good for your kids. So if you want to know, like, should I feed my kid bananas? Like, what's the benefit? Like, whatever it is, right? You can look at their site as opposed to scouring the internet for hours. And the best part about this is it gives time back to these families to actually spend with the children. So those are a couple of them. And the third one is Thrive Market, and Thrive is basically it's a company that allows you to eat well for a lot less, right? So all the products that you'd find in a Whole Foods you can get on Thrive Market's website for anywhere from 30 to 50% of what it would cost you in a Whole Foods. And so the idea is that irrespective of where you live, what your social status is, you should be able to feed your family well, right, and give them good things to eat. And Thrive allows you to do that. So those are the three that we highlight. We've looked at a ton more, and we're evaluating investments in some other companies in that space. But those are the three that are in our portfolio right now.
I'm happy to know the details of what Thrive Market does because I did get your email this morning. I am on the mailing list. So at some point I was trying to figure out how to eat well and sign myself up. So I actually need to use it. So
Yeah,
that was
it is
helpful.
a dope service. Please do. Please do.
Awesome. So we dove into the Unperfect Parent, and I know that Cross Culture is rolling out some other segments. So can you talk a little bit more about those?
Yeah, so we haven't named them yet. We're still playing with the names, but the next one is going to be around underserved communities and identifying challenges for businesses in those communities, as well as challenges for consumers within those communities who tend to spend more of their income on technology and consumer products than any other demographic anyway. So huge buying power there. But looking at some of the unmet challenges there and pointing to ways that technology can be leveraged to meet those challenges. So that's going to be the next one. It'll probably be a month after this one is out, and then after that, we're playing with the order. There are two other ones. One is the concept of the conscious consumer. So that's looking at the ways in which consumers are using their buying power and creating a real voice and letting companies know what they're going to stand for, what they are interested in, what they are for, and having companies bend to that will.
Nice.
So how do you so on one level, how do you understand those consumer sentiments early on, right? Before you get hit like an Uber did with the immigration ban situation, losing a lot of money and brand equity. So how do you figure that out beforehand so that you move in a way that your current customers and prospective customers are for? Right, and so that's what that one's kind of about. And the other one is more around serialized content. So whether it be podcasting or looking at serialized fiction on mobile phones or whatever it is, what's the best way to deliver serialized content to consumers going forward? So those are the four that we're starting with. A more distant one is kind of the unbanked. So looking at them and how do we pull them into the economy in a very real way? Yeah.
Awesome. So what specifically made Cross Culture Ventures decide to dive into this content aside from just putting your money where your mouth is, right? So what exactly made you guys go, okay, we need to actually write these reports?
Yeah, so you could be the first to do something, and then startups take a long time, and then you can wait it out and see how things go, right? The way so we view our fund and our firm as a catalyst for change, right? And so we think all of these topics that we're diving into are actually very, very important. And so we want to highlight them and put it out there like, look, there's for investors, there is money to be made here, right? So go out and invest in these spaces, right? Because at the end of the day, if more money comes into the space and to fund some of these ideas and some of these entrepreneurs, the better it is for our society. So it's kind of our way of another way of kind of being a catalyst for change, being the change in the world that we want to see.
Well, thank you so much, Marlon, for sitting in with us today. And we are super excited for all that Cross Culture Ventures has in store. And we look forward to exploring the other reports with you guys.
Thank you.